Or 219-101, alcohol, drugs, use the prohibition except for provided in 219-103, no employee may use to possess alcohol, any controlled substance while assigned with the railroads to perform the covered service. No employee may report the covered service to go and remain the duty of the covered service while under the influence or impaired with the alcohol habit of 0.4 with the more of the alcohol, the concentration of breath, blood, with under the influence of the impaired with any of the controlled substance. No employee may use the alcohol, whichever the left or the following within the 4 hours of the reporting of the covered service after receiving notice of the report covered service. No employee with a tested under the prohibition with the part of the test result indicate that the alcohol concentration is 0.2 greater than less than 0.4, but the performance continue with the performance of the coverage for the function with the railroad. For the railroad, no may with the railroad permit the employee to perform the continue with the performing conservative with the shove the employee with the next regularly scheduled duty of the period no less than 8 hours following the administration of the test. If the employee tests under the provision of the part of the test results, including alcohol concentration 0.02, but the test must be considered the negative is not evidence for the alcohol mischief. The railroad might not use the federal test for the road result of the 0.02 for the either evidence company proceeding the base for the subsequent test of the owner, the company authority of the railroad may take further action to compel the cop or operation for the other breath over the body fluid of the testing other independent basis of doing so. Controlled substance. Controlled substance is defined in 219.5 with the controlled substance group with the following marijuana, narcotics such as the heroin, codeine, and stimulants such as the cocaine, amphetamines, depressions, and such as the barbiturates, minor tranquilizers, hallucinogens, such as the other drugs that's known as PCP, LSD. Controlled substances included illicit drugs Schedule I, and drug for the Schedule 1 of the drugs that are required to describe it only by the medical practitioner prescription other than the authorization. Schedule 2 and 4, and some of the drugs Schedule 5 of the certain preparation of the distribution through the documented over-the-counter sales. Schedule 5 only the railroad routes. Nothing in this section restricts the railroad from imposing the absolute prohibition of the presence of the alcohol of any of the drug, body, fluids, the employee, whether the furtherance of the purpose of the purpose of the construction of the section may not be construed to prohibit the presence of an unopened container of alcohol beverage of the private motor vehicle that is not subject to any of the business railroad no more to make the construction of the restricted railroad from prohibition such a presence of the under its own the rules. 219-102 prohibition of use of the controlled substance. No employee who performs covered services may use the controlled substance at any time whether on duty or off duty except the permitted in 219.3 at 103. 219-103 prescribed and other over-counter drugs. So part it does not prohibit the controlled substance of 101 schedule 2 through 5 the conclusion substance list of the prescribed and authorized medical petitioner position incident with such use. The treating medical petition physical designated the railroad has been made with the good judgment, faith judgment note for the employees assigned with the duty of the basis of the available medical history to use for the substance of the employee with the prescribed authorized dosage level consistent with the safe performance employee. The duties of the substance is due to the doses prescribed and authorized in the event of the employee being treated with more than medical prescription release of the treating medical practitioner has informed all the medication is authorized for the prescribed and determined the use of the medication consistent with the safe performance employee duty for the employee that has observed any restrictions imposed with respect to the medication combination. B. The subpart does not restrict any discretion availability with the railroad required to the employee to notify the railroad therapeutic drug use for the obtained prior approval of such use. 219-104 responsive action. Removal from the covered service if the railroad determines that the employee has violated 219-101 and 102 the alcohol drug controlled substance for the misuse of the rule but under the agency the railroad must immediately remove the employee from the covered service and proceed to describe in paragraph B through E of the section if the employee refuses to provide the breath or blood fluid specimen or the specimen is required for the railroad under the mandatory provision of the part of the railroad must immediately remove the employee from the covered service and proceed to describe in paragraph B through E of the section apply. 3.1 the section does not apply with the actions based on the brief the blood fluid of the test for the alcohol drug with the conduct of the exclusively use of the authority other than provided as part of the testing of the company's medical the policy and the cover of the test policy hold the independence of part D of the testing under labor management. The section with the information requirements listed in 219-23 do not apply with the applicant with the refusal of the subpart 3 employment testing who have the pre-employment test result in indicating the misuse of the alcohol and controlled substance abuse. Notice prior to impounding the withdrawing of the employee with the covered service of the section, the railroad must provide the notice for the employee reasonable action. Hearing the proceed with if the employee denies the test result, valid evidence of alcohol, drug use, then prohibited subpart of the employee must demand they must meet the provided with an opportunity to prompt the post suspension hearing of the presiding officer other than the charging official with the hearing of the may be consolidated with any disciplinary hearing that arises with the same accident incident of the conducting directly related to, but the presiding officer must make separate findings over the compliance to statute 219-102. The hearing must be conveyed with the period specified no applicable collective bargaining agreement that is absent for the agreement the provision the employee made demand with the hearing conveyed within 10 calendar days of suspension and if the cause of the employee is unavailable due to injury, illness, or the insufficient cause within 10 days of the day the employee becomes available to the hearing. Opposed suspension proceeding with the conforming the requirements for the applicable collective bargaining agreement together with the provisions for adjustment of duties under disputes under Section 3 of the Railroad Labor Act to satisfy the procedural requirements of paragraph C, but they're notifying that there is any part of the deemed of the bridge if the additional procedure the remedy if inconsistent with its part available to the part employed with the collective bargaining agreement, the Railway Labor Act, with respect to employment that will, and the common law with respect to the removal of the other diverse action with the consequence of the positive test result, test authorized required by this part. Nothing in this part restricted the discretion of the railroad to treat the employee the denial prohibited alcohol, drug use, with the waiver that any privilege employee would otherwise enjoy to have such prohibited alcohol, drug, and youth to treat as non-disciplinary matter to have discipline and have an abeyance. Railroad must comply with the return service with the follow-up the testing requirements for the substance abuse, the professional conflict of the interest prohibitions contained in Title 4305, 4307, 42, and 99 titled respectively. 219-105, the railroad duty of the violation. Railroad may not actually acknowledge the permit of the employee to retain the duty and cover service of the violation prohibitions 219-102 and 101 and 102, but the use of the section of the knowledge imputed with the railroad must be limited to such for the railroad management employee such as the supervisor deemed officer, whether or not such for the person and corporative officer, the supervisor employee with the offended with the employee's chain of the command. The railroad must exercise exercise due diligence to ensure the compliance with the statute 219, 101, and 102, but each covered employee. 219, 107, the consequential unlawful refusal and employee refused to provide breath and body fluid and specimens required by the railroad under the mandatory provisions of this part is deemed with a disqualified period of 9 months prior to the upon the withdrawal with the employee with covered service under the section. Railroad must provide the notice for the reason for action procedure described in 219-104 with the reply of the disqualification required in section applied with respect to the employment that covers in the service by an employee. The notice for the disqualification. The requirement of the disqualification 9 months does not limit to any discretion part of the railroad to impose additional such sanctions for the same railroad-related conduct. Upon the expiration of the 9-month period described in the section, the railroad may permit the employee to return covered service only under the same conditions specified in 219-104, and the employees must provide subject to follow-up tests as provided by that section. Subpart C, post-accident toxicological testing.